WrestleMania 42 is just days away as of this recording, and we have much to discuss, analyze, and theorize over. So let's get into things. This is DerekJ Speaks, and I am here today to give you my predictions for WrestleMania 42 nights 1 and 2 live for the second year in a row in Las Vegas, and the build up to this year's WrestleMania. That's a whole video in and of itself, and I have missed several weeks of content coverage to talk about it, but man, this build up to WrestleMania this year has been a doozy. Last year it was not that strong either, but this year it's incredibly inconsistent, where you see certain matches, they just got it perfect. Other matches kind of faltered a little bit but started to rise up. Some started out the gate great and then just went on a complete decline. And others have just been so wavy and rocky. And then others have been pretty good, but they just couldn't capture what was at the very tippy top of it. But it's just been all over the place. And it's unfortunate because as you look at these shows, and I mean, you can read online rumors, you can look at backstage stuff and things of that nature, but even watching the shows week to week, like I unfortunately do sometimes, you see it play out on television where it feels like this year, the most important thing is not the wrestlers. It's not the stories being told. It's not the championships being defended. It's not putting on a great show. It's selling tickets. And yes, selling tickets and making money is, the heartbeat of every corporation in the world. Everything, every type of medium that we enjoy, it's all about making money. I get that. But it has never looked so desperate to where they have talent, not even their own talent, outsiders coming on the show, openly talking about how the WrestleMania ticket sales are so low this year and doing certain things to try to make up for that, lower the ticket prices, not really lower the ticket prices though, have an outside sponsor cover the cost of those lower ticket prices. These people are just so greedy. Honestly, they didn't lower the ticket prices. They just offered a discount because one of their sponsors, what was it, Ram, that Pat McAfee talked about on Smackdown the previous week, they just covered the cost of that portion of the 25% discount. That's ridiculous. These people are so greedy. And they brought it upon themselves because they're the ones who, one, continue to have extremely too high of ticket prices. Two, they reran the exact same market 2 years in a row because they were so greedy last year because they made so much money in Vegas last year that they only had tunnel vision dollar signs and wanted to run it back again this year. And it doesn't help that they can't sell these tickets because their product is not good right now. Now let's get this out the gate early. Some people do like it. There are certain things on this show that we will talk about that are certain people like. And, if I have to give another warning advisory later on, I will. Because maybe some of you like what's going on. You love the build up and you just love everything WWE. Certain people love WWE too much to the point where they defend every single thing this company does. And again, we'll cover that. But I understand some people like it. For me and a lot of people, there's a lot of people out there. You see it online. You see the discourse. I'm a part of that crowd. I have not been a fan of the overall product that WWE has been putting out for the past couple of months, especially on Friday nights. Mondays can be up and down, but on Fridays with Smackdown, 3 hours every week, more often than not, some of the worst pieces of trash television shows you will ever see from WWE. But we'll get into all that because that's just such an exciting way to dive into WrestleMania season here, but that's what we got. These pushed back dates of WrestleMania do not help because clearly WWE does not know how to handle these later and these longer stretches of time to head into WrestleMania. It's been, 10 or so weeks since the Royal Rumble because we're in mid-April. The whole point of them moving WrestleMania later in the month was for whenever they were going to be in colder climates, because that happened a couple years ago when they had WrestleMania in Philly and it was late March, early April. It was still a little chilly out there, and you had the wrestlers performing out in the cold, but that's because they were on the East Coast. I thought that was the whole point. They're on the West Coast 2 years in a row, and WrestleMania is later in the month, and clearly they do not know how to stretch out that long period of time to fill up television time. They have about 5.5 hours of TV to cover every single week, and they have not done a great job of filling it up with the best effort that they can. So we'll get into that, but we got WrestleMania to talk about. But first, we have the Smackdown before WrestleMania to talk about, which will house the Andre the Giant Memorial Battle Royal, filled with a bunch of names, I'm sure, who probably should have made the WrestleMania card, and it's unfortunate that they couldn't find a spot for them. You have people like Aleister Black, people like Ilya Dragunov, who I'm sure will probably pop up in this Battle Royal. Damian Priest and R-Truth, they just won the tag team titles a couple of weeks ago, and I don't see them making it to WrestleMania. It was just 2 years ago that Damian Priest had that huge moment at WrestleMania, cashing in Money in the Bank on night one, or night two, I should say, and winning the World Heavyweight Championship. A huge moment. Great ovation for that. 2 years later, his star has fallen dramatically, and now he's not even on the WrestleMania card. Don't even get me started on people like Carmelo Hayes. This man got himself super over as a babyface and won the U.S. title and carried it with pride, followed in the footsteps of Sami Zayn and Ilya Dragunov, having all those open challenges week to week, having some great television show, on a 3-hour show that mostly sucks. He has been a huge highlight in a lot of his championship matches. Even some of the ones that weren't the best, it's still a lot better than a lot of the other garbage on the show. And they rewarded him by taking the title off of him, inserting it into a feud that didn't need him, or if they wanted to involve those guys, he should have been a part of it. But they have their own ideas. They don't look at Carmelo. They looked at Carmelo as a placeholder and someone to go out there on TV and be a good spot on the show, and then once it's time for the big show, we cast him aside. That's the message that I get. It's not, oh, well, we don't have plans for you. You easily could have had a plan for him. You could have put him in that match with Sammy and Trick, but no, they didn't want to. And clearly they don't look at him that same way. They look at Trick that way, which is fine. Trick is great. I'm not even trying to pit them against each other. Trick is amazing, and we'll talk about Trick because, big things are in his future. But for Carmelo should be looked at in a similar light, and they clearly don't. So I imagine he'll be in this Battle Royal too, along with a lot of other misfits. Maybe we'll see Danhausen and Miz and Kit Wilson and people like that in there too. But I think the winner of this Battle Royal will emerge as the man who just finally debuted on TV the previous week, which is Royce Keys. Hadn't seen him since the Rumble. He disappeared, been competing in a bunch of dark matches for months, and they finally had him debut on the episode of Smackdown 2 weeks before WrestleMania. So that had to have been done for the sole purpose of bringing him back, showing his face, so then the very next week he can win the big Battle Royal before WrestleMania. What does it mean? Absolutely nothing. We've gone through this a bunch of times. The Andre Battle Royal means absolutely nothing, but it's something for him to do. And also on that show, hopefully, it is the blow-off to this very long, drawn-out Wyatt 6 MFT's storyline. They have a big multi-man street fight on the show. I don't even care who wins. I think it'll be the Wyatts, and it'll probably be because of some tension with Solo and Tama Tonga that they've been teasing over the past couple of weeks. So we'll see. I don't know. I don't really care about that very much, and I venture to guess not a lot of other people do. So let's get into the actual WrestleMania card. WrestleMania nights 1 and 2. Now, this year, it's a little bit special because WrestleMania night 1, the first hour, will air on the ESPN2 channel, like the main cable channel. The first hour of night 1 airs on ESPN2. The first hour of night 2 airs on the regular main ESPN channel. ESPN1 basically, but the main platform ESPN. So that's a big deal for them, and they have some pretty big, attractive matches to take up the spaces on those ESPN time slots. On night 1, we know that the first 2 matches that will take place within that hour on ESPN2, one of them is the 6-man tag team match with the Usos and LA Knight taking on The Vision and IShowSpeed. We have a lot of celebrity involvement heading into WrestleMania this year. We get it a lot. Many celebrities wrestle at WrestleMania, some of them in big main event matches. So we've seen this for years, literally decades. I am just at a level this year where it is nauseating how they have not only used celebrities to be involved in matches this year, but they have forced and crammed them into certain matches this year. I imagine you know what I'm talking about, but we'll get to that later. But here, IShowSpeed, he's been pretty good. He's very entertaining. He is a very naturally athletic individual, so I imagine he'll go out there and do some pretty fun stuff. And honestly, the build up to this match and the stuff that we've seen from Speed on his live streams and having LA Knight interact with him, it's been pretty entertaining. And I think it all comes to a head here. Now, generally speaking, in celebrity matches, especially at WrestleMania, they usually win. I think that trend is broken here, and I think the babyfaces are going to win. I think LA Knight and the Usos are going to get the win here, and I think it's going to come down to Speed trying to do something and it backfiring. Maybe he has the brass knucks, maybe he accidentally hits Logan Paul or Austin Theory or something like that, and he costs his team the match, which he's been, costing LA Knight and the Usos matches left and right. That's why he's gotten himself in this mess in the first place. So I think it'll be some kind of accident. Babyfaces will win, and after the match, Logan Paul and Austin Theory will gang up on Speed, try to jump him, and then LA Knight, maybe the Usos too, but at least LA Knight will come in, save the day, and he and Speed will, shake hands and, make up basically. And Speed will go back to being a babyface, essentially. So I think that's how that's going to go. And the other match airing on ESPN2 will be the unsanctioned match between Drew McIntyre and Jacob Fatu. I've mentioned how Smackdown is a bad show. It's sad because Jacob and Drew, they have tried very hard to make their stuff be good, and it is good. It's just not good enough to save the overall show. But the stuff that they've been doing, the brawling and the promos and Drew calling Jacob a convict and all that stuff, it's been really good. I look at this match though and I think, man, all those rumors that we had months ago about how the idea of doing a triple threat or a fatal 4-way for the title at WrestleMania this year with Drew and Jacob and Cody and Randy, looking at what we've gotten now, man, do I wish we got that. Not only would that have made the WWE Championship match a hell of a lot more interesting, which is a sad thing to say given the fact that it's Cody Rhodes versus Randy Orton, but it would have made that match more interesting, and it would have been one less match here that could have been inserted for a different match. Maybe for one of your championships, like your Women's United States Championship, the same title that they first introduced in late 2024 and has yet to be defended on a single PLE. Or Asuka and Io Sky, which, the delay for their match could be for a different reason, but even still. So, it's unfortunate, but Jacob and Drew have been relegated to their own story, and it's been fine. And I imagine this will be the payoff here, and I think it goes the way of Jacob Fatu. I think they're going to go out there, have a crazy match. They're going to have extra eyeballs on them, probably, and I think they're going to kill it. And I think Jacob's going to get the win. Elsewhere on the show, we have the women's tag team titles on the line in a fatal four-way match. We have Nia Jax and Lash Legend defending against Lyra and Bayley, Charlotte, Flair, and Alexa Bliss, and, at least as of now, the Bella Twins. Now, as you all know, Nikki Bella sprained her ankle very badly, and she has basically been in crazy rehab and training trying to prepare for this match. And the rumors and reports are saying that if the Bella Twins can't go, if Nikki can't go, they're going to pull the Bellas from this match, and they're going to insert Asuka and Kairi Sane into it. My response to that idea is, one, this match doesn't need to be a fatal four-way. It can easily be a triple threat and be perfectly fine. Two, if you must do a replacement team, why does it have to be Asuka and Kairi Sane? They have had Julia and Kiana James paired up as a team before. Why not just insert them? Are they just so incapable of putting Julia in a match on a PLE? Do they just refuse to do that? They can't even get themselves to make that decision, so they don't want to put her on the show in that regard. That it just makes no sense. And again, this is why the rumored Asuka Io Sky match has not been announced, and it's just been still up in the air. And to this day, we do not know if that match is happening. It very well likely might not. But either way, I don't know. And I imagine it's so touch and go and so dependent on the Bellas, because I figured that the Bellas were winning the titles. The Bellas have never won the women's tag team titles. They made it a big deal to have them reunite and declare that they're going after those belts. I felt going into this that the entire purpose was for them to get a big WrestleMania moment and win the titles. So I think that's why it was so important for them to come in here. But even if Nikki does enter the match, I don't know if she'll be completely 100%. Maybe she's just going to be good to go for this match, and then afterwards she'll disappear. But even still, it's the women's tag team titles. They don't care that much about them. The stuff that they've been doing to build this match up week to week has not been good. So you can tell they don't care that much about the women's tag team titles. They did for a period, which ironically, that period of time that they were really putting a lot of emphasis on their tag team division was around the same time that AEW was first introducing their own women's tag team titles. I'm sure that was just a coincidence, because now that those belts have been introduced and they've been around for a while, the women's tag team titles here in WWE have gone right back to the wayside. So again, pure coincidence, I'm sure. But if the Bellas are not in this match, then I see the win going to Lyra, Valkriya, and Bayley. But if the Bellas are in the match, I think it's going to them. We have the women's Intercontinental Championship on the line. AJ Lee defending against Becky Lynch. These two have been back and forth ever since AJ first came back. The entire reason AJ came back was to combat Becky Lynch. This feud has gone on. They've had their matches. And up to this point, AJ has gotten the better of Becky Lynch at every turn. She tapped her out at WrestlePalooza. She, I think, tapped her out at War Games of Survivor Series. And she beat her again for her championship at Elimination Chamber in Chicago. Becky's got to get her lick back. And I see that happening here. By hook or by crook, Becky Lynch is going to regain the Women's Intercontinental Championship on this show. And I think this will put, finally, an end to this feud. Seth Rollins taking on Gunther in a match that was very much so stitched together through several different injuries. We are looking at a scenario where we have reached like plan C or D with both of these guys. Again, I'm not going to go through the entire backstory here. I'm sure a lot of you guys know. I mean, the whole trajectory of what Seth Rollins was supposed to do on this show goes even further back. Way back, months and months, when he got injured in that match at Crown Jewel against Cody Rhodes. Had he not gotten injured, we would have been looking at a much different television show for the past few months and probably would have looked at a much different match for WrestleMania. The original idea was Seth Rollins was going to remain world champion and he was going to face Roman Reigns, and Cody Rhodes would have faced CM Punk. So, a much different WrestleMania card. I wonder if Pat McAfee still would have been involved somehow with that. I'm not sure. We'll never know. Anyway, so that's Seth's plan. Then he got hurt, and then the idea was to do him and Braun Breaker, but then of course Braun Breaker got hurt. Then it shifted towards maybe him and Bronson Reed. Then Bronson Reed got hurt. Meanwhile, Gunther, his plan was to be against Rey Mysterio. Rey got hurt. His ribs got injured, so that left Gunther without anything to do for WrestleMania. And finally, they just paired these two up. And they gave a very loose story, reason for them feuding. Gunther said that he's tired of Seth Rollins prancing around, acting like he's the best in the world, when in actuality it's him. And so he's going to fight him. And that's personal to Gunther because he takes great pride in his abilities and being the best. I guess that's it. It's not really that personal, but for Gunther it is, and we have that here. And of course, there's that little favor that Gunther now has with Paul Heyman. I'm sure that is in regards to a future match with Brock Lesnar, maybe putting Brock's career on the line. So I'm sure we'll see that at some point later on, because I'm sure that's a whole package for Gunther. I want Brock and I want him in a match with his career on the line in Minnesota at SummerSlam, because that's where SummerSlam's taking place, and that's Brock's, hometown basically. So I feel that's what that's leading to. But on this show, you got two men here, regardless of how they've gotten here, they are two of the best wrestlers in the company, let alone the world. So I imagine they're going to go out there and have a kick-ass match. This could be the sleeper match of the entire weekend. And this could be one of the best ones to come out of this entire WrestleMania 42 card, and one of the best of the year. It's very possible. Now, who wins here? Not ideal for either man to lose, but more so Gunther. He cannot afford to lose right now. They have cooled him off dramatically since he retired John Cena in John Cena's last match, and ever since him beating AJ at the Rumble. So he's going to need a big impactful win. It's not going to be clean though, because I predict that Braun Breaker, who we have heard through rumors is cleared, they just didn't want to rush him back to TV and rush into a match with him and Seth with 2 weeks worth of build for WrestleMania. But if it is true that he is cleared, I predict that Braun Breaker will return on this show. He will spear Seth Rollins clean out of his boots, and he will cost him this match. And then coming out of this match, Gunther will move on to whatever his next thing is, and Seth and Braun Breaker will pick up with the feud that they were supposed to have already. And maybe that match will be set for Backlash, and they can move forward with that feud. But that's how I see this thing going here. We have the Women's World Championship, a match that a lot of people have been pushing online on X and Twitter and stuff to be the night one main event. And I think it's ridiculous because I just think these people think too highly of WWE to pull a trigger like that. It's like you're setting yourself up for disappointment. They would not ever do that because honestly, it makes too much sense for the Royal Rumble winners to main event both nights of WrestleMania. You have 2 Rumbles and you have 2 nights of WrestleMania. One Rumble winner main events one night, the other main events the other. That should be, in theory, how it goes. But, of course, this is WWE we're talking about. But these two women, I'll tell you what, the beginning stages of their feud and their program was not the best, but the stuff they've been doing in recent weeks where they've just been beating the shit out of each other has been highly entertaining. Now, it's also been very scary. That sick headbutt with the accidental headbutt with Roxanne Perez and Liv Morgan a few weeks ago was lethal. That was crazy. But their segment this past week on Monday Night Raw and their pull-apart brawl, and we've seen a lot of them, none greater, mind you, than the one that doesn't even have to do with WrestleMania. It was on the AAA show with the two El Grande Americanos, Chad Gable and Ludwig Kaiser. That pull-apart brawl was excellent and better than anything we've seen on the main roster. But the one thing that's come close was the stuff with Liv Morgan and Stephanie Vaquer. And I think they're going to go out there. I expect a really good match. Stephanie, I love her, and she is an incredible talent, but WWE has screwed up with her. The way she came in, not even just to NXT, but the way she started on the main roster last year, the way she started compared to how she has been handled now, they have given her nothing. They have not made her or her championship run feel important or special in any way. And it's very unfortunate for her, especially because I see it ending here at WrestleMania. I think Liv Morgan's going to get the win, and she's going to win that championship, maybe through help from Raquel Rodriguez, and that could even start branching out into its own story. Maybe Roxanne's help too, praying that she's okay. But I do think that Liv is going to win the title here, and Stephanie can be put in chase mode, either for this championship, or if Becky wins the Intercontinental Championship back, she can go after that belt. They're going to have to start all over with Stephanie Vaquer. But I do see Liv Morgan winning this match. And then we get to the main event of night one, which is the undisputed WWE Championship match. Cody Rhodes, who is currently not in possession of his own belt, by the way, defending that title against Randy Orton with Pat McAfee. So we got to get into this. I'm not going to go too deep into this, and I provided a little warning at the beginning. If you are someone who has liked the injection of Pat McAfee into this story, you like Pat, you like his promos that he's been cutting, and all like genuinely you like it and you're entertained by it, good for you. I don't agree with that, but good for you. If you are someone who is just a WWE diehard homer, who you just blatantly love every single thing this company does, and you make excuses for everything they do, and you just easily chalk all this stuff up that he's been saying and that they've had him say, well, actually, he's been saying, because apparently a lot of it hasn't been scripted, as just, well, he's just being a heel. That's quite the stance to take, but I will not argue against you. All I will say is that him just being a heel is not good enough for me. You have a character, because at this point, Pat McAfee is a character on the show. You have a character on your television show, openly talking about how the product sucks. Everything sucks. The product sucks. The wrestlers suck. The champion, in this case Cody, sucks. You're having low ratings, not even TV ratings, low cage match ratings is what he was mentioning on TV a few weeks ago. You have low ratings. Your show is highly or poorly rated, I should say, and you're not selling tickets to WrestleMania. That's been the whole thing that he's been talking about. You have a character on your TV show saying this at a time when it's true. The product does suck. A lot of people are fatigued by Cody Rhodes. The tickets are not selling. So this is all true. This isn't even like, oh, well, he's just a heel character saying this at a time when everything's hot. We're selling out every single week. The product is on fire. The stories are great. That's not the case. Because then it would just be that's a heel being a heel, because he's lying. He's going against the grain. He's trying to be different. He's trying to be an outsider. This is someone basically telling the truth about your product. A product that clearly they are not going to go to great lengths to change. So it's like you're pointing out how everything sucks, and it's going to continue to suck because this angle here and this character is making things suck more. I don't have to go through why having Pat McAfee involved in a Cody Rhodes Randy Orton feud doesn't make any sense. It wasn't needed. Randy and Cody was enough by itself. I did see a few people online saying how, Cody and Randy was dead on arrival because the people didn't want to cheer for Cody anyway. They wanted to cheer for Randy Orton. So what? They're probably still going to do that anyway because wrestling fans are going to be wrestling fans and you can't control what they do. But so what? Cody and Randy is still a story by itself that a lot of people wanted to see play out ever since Cody first came back to the company. Ever since he first returned to the company back in 2022, they were already fantasy booking Cody versus Randy, especially after Cody finally won the championship. They always viewed Randy Orton. That's the opponent. That's the story to tell. And they held off on it for a very long time. As I said earlier, that wasn't even the original plan for WrestleMania this year. So they were still going to hold off on it. They finally come around to it. They turn Randy heel in a very well executed segment. And after that, they bring in Pat McAfee to completely change the trajectory of this story. It doesn't even fit the original story. The whole idea was that Randy did what he did to Cody because Cody gave him permission, basically. He wanted to be the Viper. He wanted to channel that part of him to win the championship. And it wasn't personal against Cody the way he attacked him. He just wanted to lock into that Viper side of him. And Cody is filled with rage that his mentor, his friend, would turn on him, and now he's going to kick his ass and beat him and prevent him from winning the championship. That was enough by itself. But then they have Pat McAfee come in, and he's talking about how he's going to save wrestling. The business sucks right now, so he, along with Randy Orton as champion, are going to save the business. And I don't know. It's not good. I didn't think it's good, but we'll see here. And I didn't even mention Jelly Roll, who may or may not even have a spot in this match too. Again, it's just completely unnecessary. But now, all that out of the way, how's the match going to be? I hope they have a good match. I expect a lot of bells and whistles with Pat McAfee and possibly Jelly Roll to be involved. But at the end of the day, it should be Cody versus Randy, which even though, as the last couple of weeks, Randy Orton, who was the main catalyst for all this originally, the show revolved around him in many aspects, they quickly changed that to now he's the third party. He's the third wheel in this match. It's been more focused on Cody versus Pat more so than anything with Randy Orton. Hell, it was even more so Pat McAfee versus CM Punk for a week than anything to do with Randy Orton. But now it's the match time. It's bell time. One-on-one, Cody versus Randy. Pat McAfee said that if Randy Orton did not win the championship, we would never see him on WWE television again. I don't believe that one bit, and I honestly think that spoiled the outcome of this match. I think for the second year in a row, Cody is in a championship match at WrestleMania against a legendary performer seeking a historic championship win, number whatever, and he's going to lose. I think Randy Orton is going to beat Cody Rhodes, and he is going to win his ever so precious 15th world title. And after this, there might be smoke to the fire as far as that tag team match for Backlash, possibly being Randy Orton and Pat McAfee against Cody Rhodes and Jelly Roll. I don't know how long Randy's run will last, but I think Pat's going to be at least involved to that degree. I would love for them to look at this like, look, we brought him in. This was very last minute, and let's just do it for Mania. Why they thought Pat McAfee would be a draw for them. And again, the people who are talking about how, well, this is extra eyeballs on ESPN. This will bring in new fans. No, it will not. I will just go like, look, if I'm wrong, then I'll be the first to admit I'm wrong. But I'm telling you right now, I highly doubt this is going to bring in any new fans or bring back any old fans. People don't care about WWE. They'll maybe look at a few clips online of what Pat McAfee's doing. They might tune in for a few minutes to see the stuff on ESPN. And they'll listen to what Pat talks about on his live show and all that. But these people, they don't care. WWE has been reaching out to these lapsed fans and these casual fans for decades. They're gone. They're not coming back. For a brief moment there, they started to peek through the window to see what was going on. That was during the peak of the bloodline and some of that other stuff a few years ago. But that's over. They might bring the bloodline back. We'll talk about that later. But that peak is over. It's done. And Pat McAfee is not your answer to bring in these people. He's not your answer to bring more butts in the seats for the stadium in Las Vegas. They're going to try, but it's going to be an epic fail. And so once this is all over, you'll have to look back on it and see, was it worth it? And I don't think it will be. And even if we just get to a point where Cody lays out Pat with a crossroads at WrestleMania, what's that going to do? If anything, you want to do something monumental, have Pat help Randy win, and then have Randy immediately hit Pat McAfee with an RKO and punt his ass in the skull. Randy will be the biggest babyface coming out of WrestleMania, quite frankly. So, that's all I got to say about that. Let's move on, please. Especially moving on to what many people call the real main event of WrestleMania this year, both nights. And that is the opening match of Night 2 that will air on ESPN proper. Brock Lesnar versus Oba Femi. They have not done much. What they have done has been incredibly basic, but it's still the best thing on the entire build up to this WrestleMania this year. Brock and Oba, these two have been positioned as these dominant forces finally clashing, and the fans have treated them as such, especially Oba Femi, who has not been on the main roster for very long. It's only been a couple of months. He, for a while there, wasn't even really doing a whole lot. He was wrestling Kit Wilson and The Miz and Rusev. No disrespect to Rusev, but his position on the card is not that great. So, but all in effort to just give him a couple of wins. Now he's in there with the biggest shark of them all in Brock Lesnar. These fans go crazy for Oba Femi. They have drowned out Paul Heyman's promos several times over the past several weeks with chants of Oba. These people love him. We got to hear Oba Femi on the mic on Raw, going toe-to-toe with Paul Heyman. Well, they were from a distance, but going toe-to-toe with Paul Heyman. Triple H, Paul Levesque, the boss, the head booker, right there in the ring in the background, hearing this, hearing the reaction, hearing Oba Femi talk, seeing the confidence in him. If his mind wasn't made up then or before, hopefully it was made up after that promo was over. Now try to rationalize different ways they can do the finish here and all that to keep Oba looking strong. But after all these weeks and seeing what they've done up to this point, I cannot say that there is any finish that will be good or satisfying that is not Oba Femi beating Brock Lesnar. That's the only way to do it. Brock beating him clean would be awful. Brock stealing a win and barely skating by, it's fine. And Oba losing any kind of way is not a killer for him. He will still be on a high trajectory forward, and maybe they could even rematch them and Oba can get his win later. But the iron is hot right now, man. You can't waste this. Like, this is not something that happens every single day. This is an extremely organic thing that they have built up with Oba and his connection with the fans right now. I'm not saying it'll be squandered if he loses, but there's no need to even risk it. So give Oba the win. Brock is going to be fine. They reintroduced Brock late last year to squash John Cena. Completely pointless. Didn't need it. Not even that Brock, like him winning wasn't the issue. Just the way that match went down was not necessary. But you can make it worthwhile if you have Oba in there with Brock and you have him put down Brock Lesnar. And Brock will be fine. He might lose at SummerSlam this year. So if you want to insert him into a match in between there and let him get a win on a different PLE, fine. But Brock doesn't need to win this match. He does not need it. Oba needs it. So hopefully they make the right decision. And that's Oba Femi getting the win. But this is WWE, so I don't have that much of high expectation for them in any regard. But hopefully they can get it right here. The other match on ESPN is the 6-man ladder match for the Intercontinental Championship. Penta defending against Dragon Lee, Javon Evans, JD McDonough, Rusev, and Rey Mysterio. Rey did return in time for the show, and coming off of several weeks of rehabbing a rib injury, they insert him into a multi-man ladder match. How fun. Rey's not going to win this, Rusev's not going to win this, and JD McDonough's not going to win this. Dragon Lee could. It's very unlikely. Javon Evans is the likeliest to win the championship, but I still see it going to Penta. Penta has only held this championship for about a month, maybe a little over a month. It's way too soon to take the belt off of him. It could wind up going to Javon Evans later on eventually, but for now, on this stage, I think it should go to Penta. So Penta's my pick to win this thing. We also have the United States Championship. Trick Williams challenging Sami Zayn for that championship. This match, very intriguing. Listen to these crowds. I was talking about that with Oba. Listen to these crowds. They like themselves some Trick Williams. And right now, they do not rock with Sami Zayn at all. Whatever love and connection there was with Sami Zayn. Now, it started to kind of wane and falter online and online social media discourse, but it still wasn't reflected in the live crowds. Now it is. There's a lot of people who are extremely apathetic towards Sami Zayn. Some people just flat out don't like him and would like to see him just go away completely. But I think you can't just take him away. You got to keep him on the show, but this is an opportunity to pull off a double turn. Don't change anything about Trick Williams. Keep him the exact same way he is. You know, as far as his character presentation and all that, and the fans will still continue to cheer for him. But put these two men in positions where you are supposed to cheer for Trick Williams and you are supposed to boo Sami Zayn. So my prediction is that they are going to do it. Maybe it won't be completely in effect here. Maybe this could just be the start of it. But my prediction here is that Sami is going to retain his U.S. title, and he's going to do so by nefarious means. We saw him take advantage of Carmelo Hayes getting screwed over a few weeks ago. Carmelo got injured a week after that, and we saw him take advantage of that. Maybe it's a similar situation here. Maybe Sami just flat out cheats in a way that's so obvious and gets him a ton of heat and screws over Trick Williams, because Trick doesn't really cheat that much in his matches. He doesn't take too many shortcuts. So for Sami to do it here would get a ton of heat. And coming out of this show, Trick Williams is determined to go after Sami. Now Carmelo Hayes will still be there after WrestleMania. Maybe we'll get that triple threat after all. And they could put the belt on Trick Williams. Another idea is that Trick, maybe even Trick does cheat, or whatever way, but he wins the U.S. title and maybe Sami Zayn attacks him afterwards. That's also possible. But I think it would work a little bit better if Sami wins here through nefarious means. So that's my prediction as far as this is concerned. Also on night 2, we have Dominic Mysterio taking on the Demon, Finn Balor. This Judgment Day breakdown with Balor and Dominic has been building for literally years now, and it didn't happen at the peak of it. The peak of it was like a year ago, but we got here nonetheless. Balor teased the return of the Demon, and of course WWE started to advertise it. I love it because Balor has said in interviews, like legit real life interviews, that he doesn't like when WWE promotes the Demon and promotes it like an attraction and all that. And here they go. They bring it back after it being gone for literally years, and they promote it. So that's just typical. The last 2 times we've seen the Demon wrestle, he lost to Roman Reigns after he humped the ground and then fell on his face and got beat. And then in a match that apparently he was supposed to win against Edge inside Hell in a Cell, the old man came back, rewrote the book, and decided that Edge needed to win that match. And that's what happened. So Demon Balor has been a complete loser the last couple of times we've seen him. He should not be losing to Dominic Mysterio. End this here, have the Demon win, in dominant fashion, nonetheless, and move on. Speaking of moving on, Jade Cargill defending the WWE Women's Championship against Rhea Ripley. You know, coming out of Elimination Chamber, they had that little online tiff on X and went back and forth, and it felt very real. Now, a lot of people were like, oh, this is real. Some people were like, oh, this is a work. This is a shoot. They're kind of back and forth with it. Clearly, it was a shoot, and they told them not to do that because none of that heat got transferred into their actual television feud. They paired Jade up with Michin and B-Fab, gave her a little crew. They brought Io Sky into this as Rhea's backup and basically her sidekick. So, we're here now. The build-up has not been great. You know, same song, you know, that's just a blanket statement for a lot of the stuff for WrestleMania this year. So the build-up hasn't been great. The match, I mean, Rhea's good, but she's not a miracle worker, so I don't think it's going to be that great. I would love to be surprised. I have the lowest possible expectations for this match, so hopefully they can surpass it. I don't think Io's going to be wrestling. I do think she'll be in Rhea's corner. But what's the finish? I think Jade's winning. I don't think Rhea's going to win that belt yet. I do think that Jade's going to win. I do think there's a possibility that we could see Bianca Belair return on this show. It's been radio silent as far as updates on her and her rehab with her finger and all that and her knuckle. I do think Bianca returns on this show. And I think it'll be a scenario where Rhea will lose and Jade and her baddies, basically, if you watched AEW, they'll gang up on Rhea and Io, and Bianca will come out. She won't get physical, but she'll basically save Rhea and Io, and there'll be that big face-to-face with Jade Cargill. And it's like, she's not necessarily joining the baby faces, but she's also kind of backing off Jade, and that'll be where things stand for now. And maybe they'll even tease it, like, will Bianca continue to work with Jade? Will she join Rhea and Io? Rhea and Io, it was that match a year ago that caused Bianca to get injured in the first place. Cost her over a year of her career. And her and Jade, they've been a team and a duo ever since Jade first came to the company. They've been close. There was never a falling out between the two of them. So it would make sense to see her join them. Quite frankly, I wouldn't even mind that. Bianca turning heel would be a pretty refreshing thing. But they can tease that out. But eventually, Bianca will join Rhea and Io. Might even do a 6-woman tag match on a show. And eventually, we will build up to Bianca versus Jade. And then eventually, after that, we will build up to Bianca versus Rhea one-on-one. So I think that is what we can expect coming out of this. Then we get to the match, the big main event of WrestleMania, the last match that we will see for the World Heavyweight Championship. CM Punk defending against Roman Reigns. These two had an incredible promo the night or the episode of Raw after the Royal Rumble. And since then, they have not been able to recapture that magic quite that much. They've had a couple of promos that have been good, just not that great. But some of the stuff that Punk has done with the Usos was good, And even the promo that he had when it was just himself and he was going scorched earth, that was great. This past week, their final interaction, it was more intimate, more personal, more reserved. I understood the story that they were trying to convey there and what they were trying to do. It just did not come off well. And for a lot of people, with how intense this feud should be, that was not the best promo to have as the last big thing before WrestleMania. But all that's over. All the talking, all the promos, you can talk about the build-up and all that. It's over. Now it's time for the match. Punk, I like CM Punk. His in-ring work is pretty up and down. Roman, kind of the same. Now, with them being in this position, hopefully they're extra motivated to go out there and have a kick-ass match. I have to hope. It can't be any worse than the Night 2 main event we got last year with John Cena and Cody Rhodes. So hopefully it's a good match here. Do we see the Usos come out and cost CM Punk the match, help Roman win the title, and reform the bloodline? Always a possibility. Could the Usos come out and either accidentally or on purpose cost Roman the victory and set themselves up as a heel duo taking on Roman Reigns and maybe even a reluctant partner in CM Punk? Also a possibility. Could the Usos turn heel and join CM Punk and CM Punk turns heel? Not likely. I look at this very simply. Roman Reigns has a ton of fans, people who love this man. They worship this man, and they would very much love to see him win that championship once again. I am someone who does not want to see that simply because Roman Reigns is a part-timer. I love that for Roman, that he gets to be a full-time father, that he gets to be at home and be with his children, his many, many children, and his wife and his family, and gets to be active in their lives. I love that for him. That is fantastic. But because of that, that does not mean you need to put a championship on him again. I am sick and tired. And it's because of Roman Reigns that I'm sick and tired. But I'm sick and tired of part-time champions. Guys who win the championship, show up on one show, and then are gone for 4 to 6 weeks. If not months that go by without them defending the championship, without there being a champion present on the show. Why do people want to see that again? That's boring television. On a show that's already pretty boring by itself, you're going to take the champion away too? Please don't do that again. I do think there is a very strong possibility that Roman is winning this championship again. But I'm going to go against that, maybe just out of sheer hope, and I'm going to predict that CM Punk is going to retain the championship. Me personally, I'm not looking for some big giant twist. I'm not looking for some big thing like that, some big cliffhanger. If they want to do that for night 1, that's fine. Here, I'm perfectly fine with it just being Roman Reigns versus CM Punk. This is a big main event match. One person wins, one person loses, and that's it. We can move on to different stories after WrestleMania, but for this show, it's just a big main event match, and it ends. That's fine. With me, that's fine. They might want to throw some bells and whistles on it, but I don't necessarily know what it'll be. But I do think that the best option here is CM Punk retaining the championship. And that's what I predict will happen. And that's WrestleMania. So the build-up this year has not been good. But you look at this card between the two nights and the talent that's involved, they have the chance to put on a sleeper show. And I hope they do. You know, after all these weeks, I hope we do get an actual good show. If we have several weeks, if not months, of bad TV and it leads to a even worse WrestleMania, that would be awful. But hopefully these guys go out there, put on some kick-ass matches, can tell some kick-ass stories, and WWE can get their heads out of their asses and actually care about telling good stories and not just trying to sell tickets that, mind you, are going to fall short of their numbers in Vegas last year. No matter what they do, they're not going to get a sudden burst of 20 or so thousand extra tickets sold in these next few days. They are where they are. It's down from last year. Their own fault. If they ran in New Orleans like they originally advertised, like they had The Rock come out on television and announce to the New Orleans crowd that WrestleMania 42 would be there, had they just stuck to their guns and run New Orleans again, they wouldn't have been in this situation. But it's their own doing. Look forward to WrestleMania in Saudi Arabia next year, though. Maybe. We'll see what the landscape of the world looks like between now and then. But yeah, whatever. Anyway, that's it for me here. Thank you guys for listening. This went a little longer than I wanted to, but I appreciate any of you who stuck around till this point. And if you are still here listening, fear not, because you'll get to hear from me again in the coming days, because obviously I will be here to talk about WrestleMania Night 1 and 2. Reviews will be going up late night / early morning, Sunday and Monday, for both nights respectively. And I'll have a review for the post-WrestleMania episode of Raw, which these days, these post-Mania Raw shows are not what they used to be. Last year was really good, but they can be pretty up in the air sometimes, up and down. So we'll see what this one is this year. But I'll be back covering all this content, and I hope you are here to join me. So until then, take care, guys.